Please
probably.
note, this session is being recorded.
All right. So I think Cliff can probably know who's here. And if you're here now and Matt gets a fax ticket for just an Efax, this is it. This is only affecting Efax users that actually get an email receipt of their fax. Um, they need to be added in OneCloud. Right now, the only person that can do it is Cameron or myself. They need more resources because they're going to be porting in groups of 50. I don't know like how they're going to space them out, but it's going to be a lot. So Cliff might just be giving you tickets to do an Efax in OneCloud, and it's very simple. I'll just share my screen. Everybody can do it. Everybody that's in here, I believe, has access to OneCloud. Maybe. Are we good? Is it sharing?
I can see.
Yep.
Okay. All right. So the domain that we're going to be adding the fax to is e-fax, but as you know, we can't add a phone number inventory from within the domain. We do that so users can't add their own DIDs at the domain level. So just go into inventory, add a new phone number. 455. It's e-fax. I apologize for the dash. I would change it, but I can't. We're going to SIP trunk, and we're going to secure fax-efax. I apologize that there's two other ones here, but I need them for other things. So remember, we're going to secure fax-efax. We need to put Cooper should be on the ticket. 3 current carriers, probably adding a 4th by the end of next week. So Link is the new one. So we'll just say that this is a Link, and note the customer as well, so we can kind of keep track of what customer. And the more information in here, the better. Nobody's ever going to get in trouble for putting too much information in here. Just go ahead and say that. That's it. That's all we need to do. Told you. This will only take a couple minutes. Cliff, do you have that?
I actually missed the part. My meeting cut out. I didn't hear anything. Were you just talking about the link? What you did for the link? Or the note?
Just setting up the phone number. It kind of cut out, I think, for everyone.
Oh, sorry about that. We have
Link is a carrier.
Yeah, we have a couple different carriers now.
Oh, okay.
3. We're going to be adding a 4th by the end of next week. So just note the carrier and as much other information as you have, especially the customer too.
We have more.
Yeah, that's right. I guess we do have more than that, but we're adding another one next week.
BLEC, level 1, T38, Annie. Those are the ones. So every phone number should have one of those. Like if you look at the phone numbers on Longwell's screen share right now, they all say BLEC space dash and that have information. Every single number in OneCloud should have that information on it.
Is that information going to be on the ticket we get from Matt?
It needs to be on the ticket. If it's not, let Matt know and ask him what carrier it's on. I'll talk to Donald right now and just make sure that that's going to be on the ticket. It's supposed to be. Cameron, you've been getting the tickets. No?
That's yes. I'm asking for future reference.
Have they been on the tickets or have they not been on the tickets? I don't know.
No.
Okay, so I'll ask if the carrier gets put on the tickets because we need to know that in here. That's how billing is invoicing these out. So cool. Cliff, we good?
I just got a quick question. I don't know if you can answer, but I'll ask anyway. I just got a ticket I assigned to Dara today for I guess it's a fax migration of like 270 numbers. Are those eFax or are those just? Oh no, those are ATA faxes. Never mind. I'm sorry.
Yeah, those are only ATAs.
Okay, so yeah, he said they're migrating, I guess, from BLEC to OneCloud or something. And he gave me 270 of them that he's doing. So we have to check every one of them to make sure that they're in OneCloud and assigned to an active ATA.
Oh yes, because we still have some remnants of ATAs still registered to the old T38 fax server. There was ATAs we have no remote access to and no hands-on, so it's just a verification because if he ports that number and we don't have access to that ATA, that customer is going to be down. So those will need to be skipped for now.
All right, so Dara, if I were you, I would just get with Cooper find out when he's planning on pulling the trigger on that, and just make sure we have every one of those tested before that.
I've made sure. I've already spoke with him on when he's gonna do it.
I'm sorry.
Those.
I'm sorry. Am I yelling? I'm not. I'm probably got loud again. I'm sorry. I'll just be quiet.
You're yelling very loud.
Dara,
No,
for your
no,
reference, though, those are not
said
going to
I'm-
be added in here like I just showed you. That's a different process that Cooper's going to handle.
You can talk.
Just like throw your headset across the room before you start talking.
All right, I'm done, Fisher, unless anybody has any questions about that.
Oh no. I got something. I know Tier 1 at least doesn't have the option to set the treatment to SIP trunk.
Really?
I'm not sure if
I believe
that was
that's
your
correct.
question, but
Yes.
Then we
Tier
will
1
fix
doesn't
that
have,
for
like,
you.
I don't. Okay.
No to that. Thanks for letting me. If we can fix it, I will fix it. How's that? If that's not the case, we'll figure something out so you guys can do it. Hopefully.
Okay. Cool.
I'm guessing a lot of these tickets are going to come to Tier 2 anyway, but you know, I guess it would be good for anybody to be able to do this stuff.
Cool.
Alrighty. I know some people are here that were here on Monday, so I'll wait a minute or two before we start the 3CX call flow designer stuff if people want to drop off and.
Right. Whoever was here on Monday, go back to work.
Yeah.
Thank you, Michael.
Get outta
Brian.
here.
See you later.
You got it.
Bye.
I'm outraged.
We can tell. All right. See you guys.
All right. We'll just go ahead. Let me get my PowerPoint up. All right, so today we are going to be talking about 3CX call flow designer. Probably not a lot of you guys have heard of it, but I kind of want to just bring it to everyone's attention, now, because we do have one customer that's currently using it, but with kind of our movement away from Avaya, it seems like 3CX could be more of the larger enterprise phone system for our customers, just because OneCloud is not going to offer the type of call routing features that, say, a 3CX or an Avaya can provide. So I kind of want to just bring it to everyone's attention, and kind of just make them aware of it, what it can do, and kind of what it looks like, in case we see or you've come across a customer that could really benefit from this, or we end up selling a system that because it can do this. But we'll go ahead and hop in. Kind of the overview of what we're going to talk about today. Just going to go overview, kind of some use cases, kind of show you guys inside the application, and a couple of things that we've set up. Someone's got an echo going on here. You guys can mute yourselves unless you got a question. Feel free to hop in anytime if you got questions. Also, going to go over some of the modules that are kind of the more useful ones and what people see, what we'll probably use, and then some resources, and you guys have some question and answer time at the end if anybody needs it. So we'll go ahead and hop in. What is 3CX Call Flow Designer? Basically, you can think of it like Voicemail Pro for 3CX. It can do, it's a integrated development environment for making call flow applications and on the 3CX platform. The requirements, usually it's not a big deal, because everyone that we sell, we give them a 3CX Pro license. So that's just something to know off the top of your head if you come across it. If it's a standard license, you cannot do the call flow apps. And you also need the application. Down here in the notes is kind of just a little bit on how it differs and from Voicemail Pro. It's not like you're logging into the system live and editing it and then kind of like pushing that change to the live server. Basically what you have to do is you have to take the app or the files, the call flow app, open it on an offline, like on your PC or something like that. And then once you build that application, it creates a zip file and you'll upload that to the system. I'll kind of show on a 3CX system how that happens. But it's not the most ideal scenario because you're not going to the system and downloading a live copy of what's live right then. You have to pull the file. I'll also kind of go over on that one customer that we do have, how we're keeping on top of that stuff and making sure everyone has access to the latest call flow. But why and when do we use this? There's tons of use cases for it. Here are two quick ones that I kind of are easy to wrap your head around. Routing calls based on time of day. We can do this already on the 3CX systems, but it's basically on a phone number. We can either have it go this place or this place. Doing the time-based routing, you can actually do set up options have time-based profiles on them as well. So if you want to press support, your support line stays open later than your sales line. You can have different office hour route or time of day routing for those two different options. So you kind of put it through a, just like Voicemail Pro, put it through an office hour checker, and then it sends it on. It also do a lot of stuff with SQL databases. You can do lookups, and you can take that data and actually do call routing based off of the stuff that's returned or how many entries are returned, or as far as that goes. So there's tons of stuff you can do as far as that goes. And now I'll just hop into two quick demos. Not really going to show you call into them and show you how it is, but I'll just kind of go through the application and show you how it looks, kind of walk you through the call flow of it. All right. And so when you create an application, there's always going to be this main.flow. That is where the call comes in, and that is where it always comes in. So when you upload this call flow to a system and you point something to it, it's always going to start in main.flow. I'll show you in the next example how you can kind of compartmentalize things and abstract them so you can kind of have different subsets, but everything always starts in main.flow. So when this comes in, you're going to see just the green arrow here. That means that's where it's coming in at. And what we've done here is drop the menu option in here. The menu option is just like a typical auto attendant. Give me 1 second. Whoever's being. All right. We're good now. So the menu here is just like a basic auto attendant. Here, it's not the prettiest interface, but it's still the same, same settings here. You got your options 0 through 9, pound and star. You'll enable those, and then you give it routing based on that. So once you enable them, they will pop up in this tree here, and then once you go to so for this one, this is Tread Connection. This is actually the customer that's using it right now. Basically, they have an auto attendant, and say if you're trying to contact a franchise, press 1, and then they have some other options for like sales or a dial by name. But mainly the real stuff I want to focus on is here option 1. So if you press option 1, it'll take you to a user input module, which is basically waiting for a certain amount of digits to be pressed, and you can enable which digits are allowed to be pressed. But basically this one looks for a 5-digit zip code. Once the user puts that in, it checks if it's a valid input. So is there 5 digits? If there isn't, then it's going to route through here and then fail out, and then it's going to transfer back to the main store. But if they did get a 5-digit zip code in here, what it's going to do is a database check here. And right now, the database is running on the 3CX server itself. So that's why it's kind of doing the loop back right here. But it's logging into the database. And basically what it's done is just run a SQL query on it. Now, some of you that are familiar with SQL will kind of understand the flow here. But basically it's doing finding all the entries on the zip lookup. And what it's doing is it's going to return back either a set which has a zip code and a phone number on it. And if it does return back one of those an entry like that, it's going to take that first entry and it's going to assign this variable called forward number. And that's what it does is it get table from our database result, and it's going to assign to this this variable right here, forward number. And what that's going to do, it's going to send it down here to this transfer. And what we do is we just transfer to the forward number. So basically, if it matches in the database, we're going to assign it to that number. If it doesn't match, it has a default value that we're just going to send to the transfer, which is their main store. So actually, I got I'm gonna head it up here. Oh yeah. This is actually I think their most current database. Oh, great. I can't update it because it's not updated. But basically, it looks through here. If it matches this one, it's going to route to this number right here. If I go over here, so that's a tread connection. It's very basic, but there's, it's kind of challenging with you can't log into the system to edit the file. You have to download it locally. So what's happening is in OneDrive, there's actually a folder for tread connection and has the latest entry or version of this on there. So I recommend you always edit from that directory itself. That way there's version control on it. If you're ever making changes, but right now I believe it's only Cameron, myself, and Jewel that have worked any of these tickets related to this. So I'm going to open up another demo. So this one was for a sales pitch. It's kind of a demo that I set up for that. So we're going to go into the main.flow here. As you can see, that always comes in. So in this one, I have a loop module. So what it's going to do, it's going to loop through here every time until you get to like a transfer or something like that. It's going to break out of that queue. So this is kind of an infinite loop. So it's always going to route the user back to here if it's kind of failed to authenticate into the database or something like that. But basically what it does here is you can compartmentalize things. So I have these 3 subsets that are right here. And what they are basically sort of like the zip lookup, where I'm collecting data. And what I do is I take whatever was entered in here, assign it to a variable, which is member ID. And then I'm going to say it was a valid entry, or if it was an invalid entry, it's going to loop back. But that's how basically all 3 these are. Basically, it's for a group ID and a date of birth checker. So going back out to here, once you've collected those 3 pieces of information, it's going to actually run a database lookup of a test database that I was using. And it's going to select if we return back any entries for that match the member ID, the group ID, and the date of birth. And if we do, then we found it in our database here. then we're going to say the user is valid. And what we were planning on doing is actually run an HTTP post request and to their CRM software. And so what we would do is we would take the information that we got, the group ID, and the phone number, which is, these are kind of session variables. We take that phone number and we take the member ID and we post it to this URL right here. And what they do is they create an entry in their CRM on a database table. And then we would transfer that to the queue. Now we were also another piece of this was the information in their CRM that we were doing the database lookup is we can pull the information on who is their account manager or something like that, and we can transfer the call directly to them. And basically what that would do is they would send that call to that user and they would pop a CRM. They would pop their CRM based on the incoming call would pop it on their screen, and it would load up that page and open up the ticket that was created when that right here. We would create that CRM request, and then they would pull it up on their end when the call presented to them. So there's kind of just a couple cool things, two different ways that we've kind of used Call Flow Designer. It can use it a ton of different ways, but I think the cool stuff is when you actually get into integrating with databases or possibly even CRMs. I think the cool stuff is also the web server or HTTP request. You can post stuff. You can get back JSON or XML stuff and just run it through a parser like this module here. And then, you can really do real robust routing based on, users' databases and stuff like that. So those are just two things that I want to share. So this is kind of just re-going over the demo cases that I showed. But if there's any questions on those, happy to answer them now, or you can ask them later. All right, we'll just keep on moving. So the commonly used modules is, there's I've kind of tiered them as basic and advanced, but basic ones are your typical menus, auto attendants. Now those are kind of built into 3CX already. So if people have basic auto attendants or just plain prompts and stuff like that, we typically don't use Call Flow Designer for that. So we set that up just in the auto attendant section or digital receptionist section. But the advanced stuff is kind of where Call Flow Designer really shines. That would be the database access. It can do credit card processing. I don't see us ever doing that just because that gets a little muddy as far as legality wise and what you need for payment gateways. But you can also run code, C# code, which is pretty cool. Don't really see us ever having a need for that. And you can actually read and write to files, send out an email. It can actually do record to email. So you can call in and say, record your message. It records it and actually sends it out through an email through the phone system. So you don't even have to do like a voicemail to email. It can actually just record something and email out to someone, which is kind of cool. But here are some of the resources. If you navigate to this link right here, this one right here, this kind of goes over a good overview for maybe like a sales scenario if you want to kind of highlight the features that Call Flow Designer can actually add to the system. These two right here are actually good for tech wise. Getting started really shows you how to set up the environment and get started with kind of a hello world application. The Call Flow Designer examples actually deep dives into how you can do database lookups and kind of details on the more robust features of the platform. And this is a link to the actual executable for the application. So it's good to have if you guys want to play around with. Feel free. Then that kind of wraps it up. I mean, is there any questions that anyone has? It's kind of a more, you're gonna have to get your hands dirty to really utilize and understand how it works, but I think it's pretty straightforward as far as like the benefits it presents. But it's definitely something that you got to get your hands dirty with to understand it. No question. Oh, got them in the chat.
Oh, I can talk, can't I?
Yeah. Yeah.
Nice. No, like, so, I mean, I know that it's just Tread Connection right now, but do you know if they're close to selling this to anybody yet?
That HealthGram, the demo that I was talking about, we didn't actually close that sale, but that was going to be one that was going to be very, very intensive. We were quoting probably about 2 weeks of just the call flow designer aspect,
Yeah.
like of labor on that. So that one would have been very, very robust as far as the call flow functionality. But typically I don't see it too much, but with the kind of inevitable sunrise or sunset of Avaya coming down the line, we have a lot of people that use Voicemail Pro pretty much religiously. So having something on, having a platform that we could transition them to that can do what Voicemail Pro, mostly does, presents us an option of a avenue for them to flip them to a different platform. So right now OneCloud doesn't offer this kind of robust call routing, but having 3CX, and we're still going to be supporting 3CX, that's kind of where my mindset's at. I don't have anything, I don't have any insider knowledge or anything like that, but this is definitely kind of geared for those people that really use Voicemail Pro, and those kind of things.
Yeah. Wonder if you can use it with Zima.
Not currently.
If it plays nice with Zima.
3CX, I don't believe.
You cannot use 3CX with Zima.
Yeah, I wouldn't think so, but
we're working with Zima to make it one cloud so that one cloud and Zima can work together.
Oh, cool.
And then what it's looking like is that there will be, Zima Multimedia, so you'll be able to do all the things that Zima Multimedia can do, but with one cloud instead of Avaya.
That's pretty awesome. That's cool, man.
But Zima Multimedia still can't do some of the things that the 3CX can as far as like scripting. The 3CX call flow designer kind of gives you the ability to do whatever you want as long as you're willing to write a program to do it.
Absolutely. It actually even has, if I flip back over to it, there is a section here where there's a whole another section where you can, that's not in Call Flow Designer, but you can actually write your own CRM integrations. Now, if you put in the legwork, you can kind of do anything, and then you can use that CRM integration in Call Flow Designer and actually, kind of just push it to that integration, and that actually does the, opening tickets, updating customers as far as that goes. So, 3CX can do a lot. You really just have to put the time into it, in order to, but it's not as, off the bat friendly like Voicemail Pro. I did want to show before I hop off of here where you actually go on a 3CX system. So right here I have the Telware system, but if you're looking on the left-hand navigation panel under the Advanced tab, you will see a Call Flow Apps. It's had this beta tag for a while, but they don't treat Call Flow Apps as beta, so I'm not quite sure on why the tag's still around. But in here you'll see all the applications that you have loaded on the system. And all you need to do is you hit build and build all on this, it'll compile all the code, which is it's all generated in C#, and compile it and load it into a zip file. Once it's loaded into a zip file, you just hit add an update. Desktop. Yep. Output release. Then it'll have the zip folder right here. You take this and hit open on it, and it'll load it back into the system. What it actually does when you load it, it actually runs it through a compiler as well, so it makes sure that the code is not screwed up in any way. Now that doesn't account for runtime errors. That only accounts for compilation errors. So if you get a red mark here, it actually say it failed the compiler. So once it's loaded, you can actually do go and point stuff at the CallFlow app, because basically you can set your destination. It's just another option here, send to CallFlow apps, and then you select your app there. But basically what it is if you click on it, you can actually see everything that the CallFlow designer has built this into, and it's just C#. This is all the code for this same exact thing that I have right here. That's basically it. I also, just a quick note, I'm not going to go into the actual log files, but what I typically do here is under these, I have this, there's a logger function. And if you set this, you can log out your variables and so forth. But if you go into the CallFlow logs of the 3CX system, you can actually see all this logging out, and you can actually see all the digits that the user inputted, the logic behind everything, and it's got a good logger feature on it. What I do recommend is, if you ever do this, adding in the text, just putting in maybe like a few stars or something before it, just so it sticks out to you in the logs. Otherwise, you're going to be having a fun time reading a big old log file, or you can just do like a Control F for the for the stars. But that's kind of it. If anybody has any questions after the fact, feel free to reach out to me. But I recommend checking out those resources here. It's good stuff to, this one's just a good overview of what it actually is, and kind of just a quick one page of all the stuff it can do. But yeah, if there's not any more questions, that's kind of it.
Thanks, Michael.
You got it.
Thanks.
Yep.
Thanks, Mike.
Yep. No
Thanks,
problem.
Mike. Suck it, Jimmy.
Look at Longwell.
Thanks, Mike.
All right, I'll go ahead and stop the recording since there's no more questions.